The year is 2020, and at astronaut Luke's house, a group of astronauts are celebrating a farewell party with their loved ones, as they will soon be leaving on their first mission to Mars. All his fans and acquaintances are present to say goodbye to him. Jim also comes to this party, although he was a little late in arriving. Jim is a pilot, and the mission was originally his, but his wife became ill, and Luke was chosen instead. This mission was Jim's dream, so Luke feels guilty, but Jim wishes them all the best. Jim imagines he is on Mars, and after everyone leaves, he leaves a footprint on the sandbox. 13 months later, the crew Mars 1 lands on Mars in a place called Cydonia. A remote control rover analyzed the surrounding mountains and detected a structure 16 kilometers from their location. They saw a shiny object on top of the mountain, and when the crew analyzed it, they discovered that it is something like ice. Then they expected there might be an entire reservoir of water beneath the mountain. They send a message to the Earth-orbiting World Space Station, where Woody, his wife Terry, Phil, and Jim are located, telling them that they are going out to investigate the unusual mountain. The crew approaches the structure with the rover, when suddenly they hear a faint noise on their communication system, which they mistake for interference from the rover. They use a radio wave radar to study the mountain, showing the presence of metal beneath the entire mountain. Luke says it must be a mistake, and he tells them to increase the radar power and check the mountain again. Then, an intense energy pulse comes out of the mountain, and all their equipment stops working. Suddenly, a huge tornado starts rising around the mountain, which was so powerful that even rocks start flying into the air along with it. Before the crew can understand anything, the tornado engulfs everything. It seems like he is sensitive. The crew begins to retreat. Just then, the tornado kills Sergey, Renee, and Nick. Luckily, Luke survives the incident. When the tornado subsides, a giant metal face is revealed. As a result of this incident, the space station detects an extremely powerful blast of energy, and the crew holds an emergency meeting. They receive a video of Lukey, in which he describes confusedly that the entire crew has been killed, and that he is the only survivor. Woody tries to convince Captain Ray of the World Space Station to send a rescue mission for Luke, but Ray says that Luke may already be dead, and they have no way of knowing if it is safe to go to Mars, as all transmissions have been shut down. Phil says that the Saturn research satellite is passing through the orbit of Mars, with the help of which they can get information and plan his mission accordingly. Jim reveals that he has a plan. He has already done the calculations and discovered that they can get out faster by reducing the ship's weight and taking on more fuel. However, Ray doesn't think it's a good idea, as he doesn't trust Jim because he didn't take the few remaining psychological tests after losing his wife. Woody insists that it was Jim and his wife who extensively studied and designed the Mars mission. This argument finally convinces Ray and results in a rescue spacecraft leaving from Mars with a team of 4 people. After 174 days, when they reach near Mars, they see that a sandstorm has started on Mars and is moving straight towards the Mars 1 expedition camp, so now they have to move ahead before the scheduled time. Otherwise, the storm will cover the entire planet. A few hours later, the Saturn probe passes close to Mars, and they see images of 3 graves near the previous team's base camp. This means that Luke may still be alive. They look at the spot where the energy pulse came from, and it is still emitting the same pulse, which makes them think there is a problem with the probe. Captain Ray gives the crew permission to land on Mars. Before landing, Jim misses his wife by watching old videos. It was always her dream to step onto Mars, as she was convinced there was something unfathomable there. But unfortunately, it never came to fruition. So now Jim is determined to get the answers she wanted. While the crew is preparing to land on Mars, micrometeoroids suddenly hit the ship, injuring Phil's hand and causing holes in the ship, resulting in the ship losing pressure. Woody helps the team seal the hole from the inside and out, but they have no idea that the meteorites have also damaged their fuel tanks, causing fuel to leak into the Martian atmosphere. And as soon as they fire the engine, an explosion occurs, which destroys their ship. Now the ship begins to fall into the atmosphere, which means it will burn up in 3 minutes. The crew had no other option but to abandon the ship. Suddenly, they discover that the supply module left in orbit by Mars 1 is only a kilometer away, so the crew decides to try to reach the supply module by spacewalk, tying themselves to each other and heading out, but finds that the supply module is moving too fast. Woody decides to fly at full speed to the supply module, using all the fuel in his jetpack, and grabs a grappling gun wire to attach to the module. However, the fuel soon runs out, and he cannot slow down, causing him to rapidly approach the module. He attaches the wire to the module, but loses his grip and becomes stranded in space without any fuel. The rest of the crew tries to save him, but Woody says they won't have enough fuel to go back. The crew boards the module. Terry is desperate to save Woody and can't bear to watch her husband die. so she attempts to bring Woody back using her jetpack, but Woody tells her to turn back, because if she moves further, it will not have fuel left to go back to the module. In a last-ditch effort to save Woody, she throws the cable at him, but unfortunately, Woody was out of her reach. Terry wants to try going a little further, but Woody knows she can't go back if she does. That's why he told Terry that he loved her, and then took off his helmet, killing him instantly. Terry is devastated to see this, but Jim consoles her. Crews at the space station stop receiving signals from Mars too, but suddenly they receive data that the supply module has landed on Mars. Ray believes that only Jim is capable of doing such a thing. Terry and Phil manage to land the supply module on Mars. They arrive at the base camp from the previous mission, where they find most of the equipment damaged, but they were still able to repair them and return home. Jim goes into the greenhouse and sees that someone has clearly been here this whole time, as all the equipment is on and the plants are brightly alive. Then suddenly Luke attacks him because he thinks Jim is just an illusion. But Jim calms him down by saying that his son is Bobby and his wife's name is Deborah. He is reading a book, which his son Bobby is also reading on Earth. He cries with joy when he learns that his friends have come to save him, but becomes very sad when he learns about Woody. He tells how he survived here by planting trees. Jim asks what happened to him, and then he just repeats that something came out of the top of the mountain and killed everyone. He believes there was a reason for his survival. He was chosen and left alive, and now he is the one who has to solve the mystery. Jim sees a storm outside, which they have learned is about to cover the entire planet. But Luke says that it has been here for several days, originating from a mysterious mountain. Jim thinks it is just a storm, and that Luke is taking it too seriously. So Luke takes them inside, and shows them an image on the computer, in which they can clearly see a mountain shaped like a face. He also played a sound that he heard for the first time. Luke says that he analyzed this sound for a year, and discovered that the strange sounds are a repeating group of mathematical symbols, and the groups of sounds are arranged in a coordinate system, which reveals a model of DNA. Luke believes it to be the signature of the creatures that placed the face there. This DNA looked exactly like that of a human, but the model is missing the last pair of chromosomes, which means it is not human. Jim suddenly realizes that the DNA model obtained from the voices is not a signature, but a test, not the final pair of chromosomes. This means that the face is waiting for the answer to a question, which is why the Mission 1 crew died. They did not connect the missing pair of chromosomes to prove that they were humans, and they inadvertently gave the wrong answer by sending radio waves, resulting in the face becoming defensive, just like a security alarm. Jim wants to complete the test by locating the missing pair of chromosomes and transmitting them via radio waves to the face, but the rest of the team suspects that if they give the wrong answer again, they will be killed. Jim says that if he leaves without finding answers, his friends' sacrifices will be in vain. Luke says they don't need to go near the face. They can complete the test by sending radio waves through a remote-controlled rover. The team agrees, and a rover is sent near the mysterious face to send a recording. As they transmit the radio wave, the DNA gives the correct answer to the puzzle, and they are surprised to find an opening on the face from which a blinding white light emerges. Terry assumes this is some kind of invitation, so Jim, Terry, and Luke go to the face, while Phil stays to finish repairing the ERV. Phil is ordered to launch before the storm arrives, with or without them. As the astronauts enter the white-walled room, the entrance closes, and they lose contact with Phil. Jim notices that the atmosphere inside is breathable and removes his helmet. Then a door opens behind them, and when the team enters, they see a 3D model of the solar system, from which they learn that Mars once had life, but a giant asteroid hit it, due to which its entire ecosystem was destroyed and the planet became uninhabitable, due to which the people of Mars moved to another galaxy. But a ship was sent to Earth with their DNA. It was this ship that came to Earth and brought with it the first single-celled organism. This means that it was the Martians who gave life to the entire human race. The face was placed on Mars, so that one day humans could land on Mars and recognize them as descendants. The team sees a Martian hologram that holds their hand and invites them to go with him. Then Phil contacts them and tells them that the storm has intensified and they have to leave quickly. Jim says that it is a spaceship that is going to take off soon because the countdown has started. Jim accepts the invitation, bidding farewell to Terry and Luke. He will proceed to explore space in their ship as his wife wanted. Terry and Luke agree with Jim's decision and bid him a final goodbye as they head out. They barely get to the return travel module in time, as Phil is about to leave. Jim steps into a white circle and is lifted up. He begins to panic as the capsule begins to fill with water, but soon discovers that he can breathe in it. Jim remembers all the best moments of his life and gets ready to travel to a new world. Suddenly a tornado arises and the face begins to collapse, through which the Martian ship lifts off and leaves Mars. Phil, Terry, and Luke watch the ship head towards a galaxy and wish Jim good luck.